Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmate. I am Frazel Valdez, and my partner is Mara Tumbaga, Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education, major in Values Education. Our report is all about emotional disturbance. What is emotional disturbance? Emotional disturbance means a condition exhibiting one or more of the following characteristics over a long period of time, and to a marked degree that adversely affects a child's emotional educational performance. It is an inability to learn that cannot be explained by intellectual, sensory, or health factors. An inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers and teachers. And inappropriate types of behavior or feelings under normal circumstances. A general pervasive mood of unhappiness or depression. A tendency to develop physical symptoms or fears associated with personal or school problems. The term emotional disturbance includes schizophrenia. It does not apply to students who are socially maladjusted, unless it is determined that they have an emotional disturbance. Children with emotional disturbance may also be diagnosed with behavioral disorders, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. However, emotional disturbance is not diagnosed in children who are primarily socially maladjusted unless an underlying emotional disturbance also exists. Students with emotional disturbances are at risk for school failure and often require both specially designed instruction and psychotherapy or counseling services. If they don't receive a diagnosis of emotional disturbance, however, they are likely to be pushed out of school by punitive discipline policies such as suspension or expulsion. Children who face such policies have a higher risk of dropping out of school and entering the criminal justice system. This phenomenon is colloquially known as the school to prison pipeline. Before they are diagnosed, children with emotional disturbances may be perceived as simply bad or unruly by teachers, administrators, and peers. Being thought of in this way can damage the self-esteem of emotionally disturbed children. These children not only feel shunned, but also must work through the circumstances that led to the emotional disturbance. They may have abandoned by their parents, or sexually, physically, or emotionally abused. They may have been diagnosed with a mental health condition such as a personality disorder that will follow them throughout life, making it difficult for them to maintain friendships, romantic relationships, or professional careers. One of the most confusing and potentially explosive labels that can be attached to a child is ED, or emotional disturbance. Children and youth who exhibit significant emotional problems. Combining the potential impact of family is the possible feeling of shame at having a child with emotional problems. Children and youth who exhibit significant emotional or behavioral problems have been described in many ways. It is critical to understand that many of these individuals exhibit disturbing behaviors because they have a disability. Some individuals may have ED because of environmental factors, and when the factors change, they may learn to behave in appropriate ways. For example, a child exposed to a traumatic family event, such as death, may show a reaction that causes others to be concerned. However, when children and youth behave or feel the way they do because it is part of an internal condition that they cannot control, their ED is disability. The behaviors exhibited by children with ED are more troublesome to the people around them, and we normally expect children to behave appropriately or we punish them. But it must be understood that many of these children will never be normal, similar to children with other disabilities. Consequently, they will not learn to behave by being punished. Furthermore, they will learn very quickly that their disability, no matter that they cannot control it, makes people, even those who love them, disapprove of them. Given those aspects of their disability, it is not surprising that the outlook for many of these children is not promising. There are some characteristics of person with emotional disabilities: excessive fear of people, pronounced fear or failure, frequent school avoidance, changes in activity levels, unresponsive, rarely laughs or smile, attempted self-harm, self-criticism, reject mood or frequent mood changes, little interest in pleasurable activities, irritable the majority of school day, easily upset by changes in routine, withdrawn active behavior, talks of strange ideas, excessive worry or anxious, aggressive meltdowns when agitated or frustrated. Possible causes of emotional disturbance may be explained by biological factors such as genetics, brain damage or dysfunction, malnutrition and allergies, temperament or physical illness. For family factors such as the family definition and structure, family interaction, family influences on school success and failure, and external factors, ability of school personnel to accommodate students' variable intelligence, academic achievement, and school social skills. Here are some examples of students with emotional disturbance. Sally has been a very pleasant student in her fifth grade classroom all year. She is attractive, well-mannered, and does well in school. She sits in the front row and smiles appropriately, answers questions, and participates in group discussions. She is an only child, and her parents have traditionally taken an active interest in her school progress. She is extremely close to her mother. Tragically, her mother had a car accident and subsequently dies. Sally becomes sullen and withdrawn, refusing to go to school. Her father leaves her alone, believing she is undergoing a normal grieving period. However, 10 days pass and Sally's withdrawn behavior continues. Her father decided that it would be best for her to return to school and help her come out of the depression. On Sally's return, she quietly moves her seat to the back of the classroom. The teacher tries gently to persuade Sally to participate in class but also understand what Sally must be going through and decides to leave her alone. When the teacher has time, she attempts to counsel Sally. However, no matter what is done to help her, Sally's withdrawn behavior continues. After a meeting with other school professionals, it was decided to let Sally stay in class in the hope that with time she will return to her normal self. And another example is Joe. Joe has been a pain in the neck to almost everybody he has been in contact with this year. He is unkempt, ill-mannered, and below average student. Joe's teacher always seemed to be calling out his name for classroom infractions. His mother was initially responsive to contacts from the school, but she stopped her attempts to cooperate. She admitted to the principal that she was at the end of her rope with Joe at home. Joe's father, although professing concern, worked long hours in his new business and was generally uninvolved with his son. Suddenly, one day, Joe's mother died. During the next week, Joe, who had been extremely close to his mother, engaged in many tantrums. His father left him alone, believing that this was normal grieving. While taking the week off from work, his father found out it very difficult to communicate with Joe. Finally, he decided that Joe should return to school. On Joe's return to school, he stormed into the classroom, kicking chairs and throwing papers all over the room. He ran to his desk and screaming. The teacher tried to quiet Joe with no success after a meeting with other school professionals. It was decided that Joe might need special help. Joe and Sally represent students who may be equally disturbed, yet their behaviors demonstrate that the natures of their disturbances are different. Although undergoing the same type of catastrophic experience, Joe was disturbing and Sally was withdrawn. Consequently, society's reaction to Joe and Sally are different. Although both examples focus on the death of a mother and its effect on children, rarely will the children's reaction be as strong as those portrayed. Nevertheless, in most instances, somebody like Sally will be allowed to continue to act disturbed in her quiet, withdrawn manner. Students like Joe, on the other hand, will most likely be removed from the regular class and treatment may be deemed necessary. Some people believe that it is only those children who are disturbing, such as Joe, who are regularly identified as ED or emotional disturbance. Withdrawn students, such as Sally, are often more difficult to identify and ultimately help. As we've mentioned, children are diagnosed as having ED when their behavior is very different from that of their peers or what is expected of them. The problem behaviors may be recent and short-lived or they may be long-term. The disturbances may be demonstrated in the classroom, where such abstract assignments as reading and writing are required, or only in the home, where tasks are frequently more concrete, such as taking out the garbage, washing dishes, or mowing the lawn. Both Sally and Joe seem to belong in Bower's 1969 Stage 2. That is, their feelings and behavior seem to be a result of a one-time traumatic experience. Yet the action that parents and concerned professionals take may influence either child's future emotional growth. It is the responsibility of all parties to be careful observers of the behavior of children after a traumatic event.
Characteristic of emotionally disturbed or behaviorally disordered. children, and youth. Conduct disorder. These are the things he does not disturb or hurt someone, for example, fight, hits others, destroy property, commit crimes against society, easily frustrated, steal, undependable, boisterous, runs away from home, lies presently, substance abuses, engage in appropriate sexual activity, blames other in conduct disorder. A person with this disease become irresponsible. Attention and concentration. These are the ones who can concentrate on something. For example, can sit still, is highly distracted by everything. Has short tension span, maybe as short as 20 seconds, doesn't seem to listen. Is drowsy. Shows lack of interest. Hyperactivity, attention deficit. These are the people who are overly active in something or an event. For example, can sit still, fidgets, rushes work, seems to be talking all the daytime. Maybe have nervous mannerisms such as twitches, constantly seek attention of others, demonstrate poor organizational skill, shows lack of goals, direction, has short attention span, can ignore environmental influences, is impulsive, exclusive, climbs on the things, needs consent supervision, interrupts others, has frequent temper tantrums. Withdrawal. These are the people who are addicted to their vices and combination of physical and mental effects that a person experiences after stopping or using or reducing their vices. For example, drinking alcohol as well as seem tired, avoids interaction with others, demonstrate lack of interest, is depressed now, is passive, is easily embarrassed, rarely expresses emotion, doesn't have self-confidence, feel inferior to others, is shy, timid, fearful. Function disorders. These are the people who do what they do every day. They don't do anymore. For example, eating disorders, voluntary regurgitation, obesity, eating, edible object habitually, refusal to eat, elimination or disorder, inability to control bladder, no physical reason, inability to control bowels, no physical reason. The cause of functional neurologic disorder is unknown. The condition may be treated by a neurological disorder by direction to stress or physical trauma, but that's not always the case. Severe EBD is an emotional disorder characterized by excesses, defenses, or disturbance in behavior. There are severe cases where they are only having hallucination, logical thinking, delusion, hallucination, destructive talking, and unusual perception, behavior. Emotional disturbance and behavioral disorder mean different things to different people. Parents, friends of the family, neighbors, teachers, school administrators, shopkeepers, and doctors may each have their own expert opinions. Therefore, communication about the child's individual problem must occur. Most often, it will be your responsibility to insist on getting a clear, understandable message from those concerned. We hope to aid you in that regard.